Hey guys, so I am back on my YouTube channel, finally. It's been like months since I was on here last. I just needed to take a little break for me and for Austin and for Cameron's sake. Because since the last time we were on YouTube, we have had a lot of stuff happen. I will eventually come on here with a huge life update because there is a lot of new stuff going on in our lives. But for today's video, I figured I would do something very close to my heart. So if you've been following our journey through like YouTube up until the end of the last time I posted, and for all of my friends who follow my Facebook and my Instagram, you know that we are doing testing for Cameron being on the spectrum, and that is still in the process. But with that being said, we have been told by a few doctors that they are like 75% sure that he is definitely on the spectrum somewhere. They are not sure where. He hasn't been completely diagnosed yet. So I like to consider myself and Austin as like undiagnosed autism parents, I guess you would say, because we're pretty sure he's on the spectrum. He's just not diagnosed enough where we could say we're 100% sure that we are autism parents. But with that being said, the best advice I've been given so far on this journey is to already act as if your child has autism, because when you get the full diagnosis and everything written out, it's a lot easier to cope with, and it doesn't come as a shock because you've already been living as if that's the way you live. So with that being said, I thought I would do this video on questions or like just random things that people ask autistic parents, or things that they say to autistic parents that I don't think that anyone should say to anyone. So I hope this helps anyone who follows, or any of my family and friends who watch this, know things that I don't want to be asked, or how I'm going to respond to you if you ask, because these are just basic questions that you shouldn't be asking an autistic parent. So the first question I get a lot, like I think this is the most common question that I have ever gotten in my life. I'm not sure if Austin's ever gotten this question because he's never mentioned it to me. But the question that I get asked all the time is, did his vaccinations cause him to be autistic? This is probably the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my life. So you think that him getting a needle in his leg or his arm or wherever they do the needles is what caused him to be on the spectrum? Like, that is probably the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. I actually had someone ask me if it was his 18-month shots that could have caused it, and really it's not even like causing it. It's not a disease. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. Literally what it is just struggling with communication and learning and just doing things completely differently. So with that being said, no, his vaccinations had nothing to do with him being on the spectrum, and if you believe that that's the case, you go ahead and believe that. But I don't want to be asked about it anymore, and I don't really want to see it in my posts or in my comments or anything. So if you comment that on this video, I'm probably just going to delete it, because to myself and to Austin and to our doctors, we have been told his vaccinations play no role in him being on the spectrum. So I don't want to be asked that anymore. Simply, that's what we believe, because we have been told by his doctors and his specialists that his vaccinations literally had nothing. The question us autism moms get all the time is, what's your child's superpower? Like, do you think he can shoot fire or something? Or like, what is that kind of question? I guess it is believed that autism kids are always good at one specific thing, whether it be math or building or whatever it is. You need to take a minute to realize that my child is 2. He is literally 2 years old. There is no way that he could do any of those things. He does not have a superpower. So if you're trying to ask me what he's good at, why don't you ask him? Not that he can talk you, but like, I would say what he's good at is playing with his toys or watching movies, or, you know, like the basic things that 2-year-olds do. He is a 2-year-old. That's what he does. He doesn't have a superpower. Another question I get a lot of the time is usually around his birthday or holidays, anything like that, is, what do I buy for an autistic kid? Are you kidding me? He is literally a little boy. You buy him the same thing that you would buy any other little boy. He loves cars, he loves trucks, he loves movies, he likes to cuddle. He literally does the same things as any other kid his age does. He just has a different way of doing it and a different way of communicating about it. So when you want to know what to buy my kid for his birthday or for something like that, and if you have to ask this question, you probably should just not buy something for him at all. That is probably one of the top disrespectful questions I've ever been asked in my whole entire life. And I'm really sorry if any of these questions offend you, but it is extremely frustrating being the parent of a child who gets treated differently when he's not even different at all. He is a regular child. Next one is not really a question, it's kind of more of something I get told all the time, and that is that if I didn't spoil him or baby him, he wouldn't be the way that he is. So let's start at the beginning of that. So if I didn't baby him, let's remember he is 2. That means he is barely a toddler. He's still practically a baby, and he's acted the same way that he does right now pretty much since he was like 8 months old. So did you want me to not baby him when he was 8 months old and start acting like he's a child? I also get told that if I actually spanked him or gave him, that clip totally just got cut off, but with that being said, I always get told that if I spanked him or whatever else, then he would behave, he would listen to me, he would do as he's told. Let me just tell you that there is no kind of spanking or giving trouble that would change the way my child is. There are little things that he does that are just the things that he does or that frustrate him, and that's just who he is. There are things that frustrate me, there are things that frustrate you watching, there are things that frustrate Austin. Those things are things that someone beating you or yelling at you for or giving you trouble for definitely aren't going to correct or change. That's just the way that you are. So if you want to tell me that I shouldn't be babying him or that I should spank him and give him trouble more often, then maybe you should probably look more into the whole autistic thing, because that is not going to do anything, especially in his case. It's probably just going to make him very frustrated and extremely angry, and probably even upset. So yeah. Another question I get all the time is, I don't know how you do it, or how do you do it? How do you do it with a kid like that? I wouldn't be able to do it if I had a kid like that. Let me just tell you, my kid is like a regular kid for like the 40th time throughout this whole entire video. I do it the same way as any other mom does. I just change up a few things in our routine that will adjust to the way that he needs it to be. For example, to get him dressed, I don't just undress him the way like a regular person would. I have to go through a whole process just for him to let me put something over his head because it makes him upset. Yes, I can see how some people can be like, oh, I would never be able to do that. But once you're in that place, it kind of just adjusts with you and you learn how to do it. So the next time you want to ask me how I do it as a mother, or how I do it as a mother to an autistic child, then maybe you should just think about it a little bit and realize that that's just a label. Yeah, being an autistic mom is whatever. But what it comes down to is that I am his mom, I am his caregiver, Austin's his dad, he's also his caregiver. These are things that we have learned to adjust to, not only with him, but through his development worker, who has been great with us and helping us out. We also have daycare helping us out, we also have our families helping us out. It's kind of just everything all together. You kind of just learn how to do it. Another thing that I really hate being told, and I know other moms of children on the spectrum hate being told, is, have you tried this? Have you tried that? This worked for my siblings, this worked for my mom, this worked for my cousin. We've probably tried it, or we've probably taken it into consideration. One thing I get all the time is, oh, have you gotten his ears checked? He's probably acting like that because he can't hear you. He had his ears checked when he was a baby, which is the routine check of every other baby, and there are lots of babies who go from that hearing test to no other hearing test because they're perfectly fine, they can talk to you, they develop as they pretty much should, which I understand, maybe there's nothing wrong with their hearing. But with Cameron, we're 99% sure that it has nothing to do with his hearing, because when you call him, you say his name. If he knows you and he recognizes your voice, he'll turn around, he'll look at you, and he'll smile, and he'll wait for you to do whatever you're doing. Or if you say, Cameron, do you want something to eat? He'll look at you and he'll know what you're talking about. You play his favorite song, he hears it, he knows what it is, he comes running to you and he wants to watch the video. We're definitely sure it's not his hearing, but for those people who are going to say, oh, you should probably get it checked anyways, we're definitely doing that, obviously, because the doctors want to completely rule that out. But I'm just tired of being told, oh, you should do this, 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 this before you diagnose him or say that that's 100% the cause. We've probably thought of it and we're probably doing it. So just don't, unless you're another autism parent or like a parent with special needs, then I will 100% take in your consideration because you've obviously been through all of this before. But if you're a parent to a regular child, and I say that with quotations because no child is the same, no child is completely normal, but I just mean a child who's not diagnosed on the spectrum, then to be honest with you, I don't really want your opinion because you don't really know what we go through on a daily. You don't know how many meltdowns I've gone through over this whole entire thing. You don't know how many people we have in his life trying to help him developmentally. You just don't know, and I think that's what the main reason for me recording this video is, because there are a lot of people in my life who just don't know. I only tell like a select few people what actually we go through and what we have been going through for almost the last year now. So I think this video will really help those of you who just watch my videos or watch my Facebook posts to understand why I don't respond half the time when it comes to my child, or why I respond the way that I do. It's not trying to be mean, and it's not me trying to be like a stuck-up mom. It's simply me just trying to teach people that there is a lot you need to learn about the spectrum. And I will admit that before we went through this whole diagnosis process, I knew nothing about it. I started reading up about it as soon as it was mentioned to us as a possibility, not even from his doctor, from his development worker. And from then on, I've slowly been gathering as much research as I can from online, from his doctor, from his development worker, from his daycare caregiver, from the new programs he's in, from his pediatrician. All of these people, I've been slowly gathering everything that I know up to this point. I'm not going to tell you that I'm like specialized in it, because clearly I'm not. I don't know a lot about it, but I know enough that I can tell you why I feel my child is on the spectrum. And yeah, so with that being said, just one is probably one of my personal favorite things that I have ever been told in my whole entire life. Not that it's my favorite, but like probably the most humorous for me, and the one that really gets me from some people is, your son really doesn't look like he's autistic. Are you sure he's autistic? Because he really does not look like them. What does an autistic person look like? That's what I'm curious of. I have seen many different children from many different parts of the spectrum. Obviously, we go to a pediatrician. There are other kids there all the time. And we go to a daycare, which has other children who are also on the spectrum. And there is no look that they have. They're kids with developmental, I want to say, setbacks. So I'm not sure if somebody may have gotten this confused with another type of disability of some sort. The only one that came to mind when I was first asked this is maybe if they were thinking of Down syndrome, because I know they all have that similar kind of look to them. But I'm not really sure what it means for an autistic child to have a look, so if anyone knows what that means, maybe let me know in the comments. And the next time you think about telling me your child doesn't look autistic, maybe you should think about it a little bit, because I don't think that anyone actually looks autistic. I think it's just something inside of them, in their brain. I really don't know. I just thought this was the stupidest thing I had ever been asked or told in my whole entire life. So yeah, I'm sure other moms can relate to me on this one, because I bet I am not the only one that has been. That pretty much wraps it up for this video. I can't think of anything else on the top of my head that I have been told or asked that I know extremely frustrates me. This is pretty much it. I just want to know what you guys think, fellow autism moms or autism parents in general. Is there anything that you've been asked that drives you crazy, or anyone who has a sibling on the spectrum or a parent on the spectrum? Let me know what kind of things that you get told or asked all the time. I am genuinely curious if there's anything else that maybe I'm going to get told or asked in the future. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and that it helps some of you out and makes you feel more positive, and that if you're going through this, you are definitely not alone, because there are many of us going through this. If you liked this video, give it a huge thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel because we are definitely going to be back on here with more videos. And I will see you guys back in our next video. Thanks for watching.